let's talk about DataFeed Watch.
The other ones are Hotjar, which has, I think, probably more in the way of like integration. More people use Hotjar than anything else. And then True Conversion, which is owned by Digital Marketer, which had a lifetime deal on AppSumo at one point. I can see if it's still there. Do y'all know about AppSumo? Does everybody use AppSumo? I spend so much money on AppSumo, it's insane. Fun has to hold me back.
I'm just getting this set up. Sometimes Cosmin comes to me, he's like, hey, AppSumo had a deal. I'm like, yeah, no, he's like, I bought it.
Yeah, True Conversion
cool.
deal on AppSumo is over, but you can go to AppSumo and they sell software deals, lifetime purchase software deals for like $40 or whatever. And they're just trying to get like user adoption and feedback. So worth knowing about. That has nothing to do with Google Ads. I'm sorry.
This is DataFeed Watch. I'm going to walk through an installation on Shopify. Here's the good part is DataFeed Watch has very clear instructions for every CMS. So they have a step-by-step walkthrough. So I obviously can't go through every CMS walkthrough, but they have very granular details, file deliveries, bridge to cart for your root domains, FTP upload integrations, everything you can imagine. That's the one thing that I love about them. And you can see that sometimes we use them for shops that have 148,000 products or 28,000 products. Like it's a massive undertaking and it's fantastic. We love them a lot. I want to explain the value proposition. In 3x Shopify, I showed you how to bypass any feed management tool like DataFeed Watch. Also, though, in 3x Shopify, what I didn't share with you is exactly how to make very specific changes. So this one, you can see like there's Volusion, WooCommerce, Shopify, a text value. They integrate with everybody. This is a Google Sheet integration, everything. So no matter how your shop's set up, DataFeed Watch has a way to integrate with it. But as an example, here's my Google Shopping channel, and we'll go through a setup, but I want to make sure that before we possibly run out of any time, because DataFeed Watch has a very clear step-by-step instruction on how to set it up. I want to kind of share the value proposition first and see if this is of value. So what you'll know is, here's an example. Image link, what it will do automatically for you is it'll already rename everything. So it'll say, hey, the title that comes from your feed, we're going to rename it called DataFeed Watch title, and then that's going to be sent right into Google Merchant Center. The description, we rename it to DataFeed Watch's version of the description, which we haven't made any changes, sends it right into Merchant Center. So this happens automatically upon entry. You don't have to map each one of these fields individually. But what's nice is, hey, the image link, we renamed the image link to DataFeed Watch's image link and sends it right into Merchant Center. But there's an if. If the ID is not equal to this ID, then we need to add the static value of this image here. And so this image is a different picture. So without having to change my website in my feed, I'm saying, hey, if this ID is not equal to that one because it's equal to another image link, we need to use this different image here. If a identifier exists and it's as static value of true, if the brand is not equal to AED land, then the USKU is not blank as static value of false. So all of these little tweaks and modifications that are inside of DataFeed Watch allow us to make very, very specific updates. So I'll just do an example here. Let's do title. So title, rename title to this title here. And if the title includes black t-shirt, obviously you want to have the title be exactly what you want it to be, then we're going to add static value of black t-shirt with Sunbeam logo. I don't know. Essentially what we're doing is saying, hey, before I make any sort of changes to my website, I can take the feed and say, if this exists, then we're going to rename it with this or add static value with this, and then we're going to push that into Google Merchant Center. So this is where we're able to now make any changes to our titles, our descriptions, our images, our prices, all of that. Now prices would be like a sale price, but this is what DataFeed Watch has a really great functionality for. If your website, you have product titles that you don't want to add like the with Sunbeam logo to it, you can tell Google this is what I have. You don't have to change it on your website. Now, this may not be valuable or applicable to you, but DataFeed Watch allows for this sort of functionality, and you can have A/B tests internally. You can have you have a lot more functionality inside of the feed management tool that you can make minor modifications without having to change it on your website just by adding keywords and phrases and titles and descriptions or adding a suffix to it. You can have a lot of different functionality inside of DataFeed Watch that, and they have a lot of good training. They have dedicated agents that help. This is something that I think is very valuable to someone who is needing to make feed optimizations and doesn't necessarily want to hack up their website. So again, it's I didn't start here with the 3x Shopify because you don't need it, but we like to use it because we get to make changes on the client's behalf without asking the client to possibly hire a developer and make those changes. That I think is a good value proposition for an agency, because we don't have to keep bugging our clients and saying, hey, can you change the title? Can you add this description? You know, can you try these keywords in your description? Hey, you actually been disapproved because this was found. Let's remove that. We can do all that stuff on behalf of our clients here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's nice about this too is you'll have you get previews of how the feed is going to be looking like. So this one here, as an example, this client has to abide by map pricing. So here's kind of a good thing for our drop shippers. Sometimes a way to get around this. As an example, this client here resells Philips batteries for defibrillators, and upon about 10,000 other items. Anyway, he has a sales price on his website, but we can't advertise that sales price. So we said sale price renamed to price in here, which is fine. If the ID is equal to these three products, leave empty. So when you hit preview, you say, okay, so the price is $67. My sales price is $49, but the outcome value is $67. So the Google Merchant Center is still going to show $67 in the ad. But when they click on it and they go to the price, you then see the sales price right on the page. So again, this gets a little more advanced. This is a masterclass, so a way to manipulate feed data before it gets to Merchant Center, but not needing to be updated on the site is sometimes things that people need to know, not every single time. Or an easy way to optimize my feed titles and descriptions, or changing around an imagery. We've used this a lot of times with a company that uploaded 10,000 products. The image number 1 is actually the back of an item. Or the side of an item, and they don't mind it, but image number 2 is actually the item they want to use in the ads. Well, previously they'd have to go through every single one of their items and then rearrange their images. This one, you can say image number 2 replace with image number 1, and then send that into the feed, and then all of a sudden now all the proper images are showing up inside of the ad because it's now pulling image number 2. So that was a way for us to not have the client go through 1,000 of their ones. We just set up a rule and it was done in like 10 minutes. So again, being that it's a masterclass, this isn't everything that you need. This is just the next level up of those type of features. Yeah, Matt, minimally advertised price. Thank you, Don. Yeah, minimally advertised price means the manufacturer or whoever it is that you're buying the product from, the people who made it, says you cannot advertise this price lower than $29. And you'll have it on your site for $19, but you can't advertise it for $19. You have to advertise it for full price. Well, your ad can say $29, but then they get there like, wow, that's a really good price, and then they buy. So if you need to not advertise below a certain price, but you still want to have it on your website, you can't do that without DataFeed Watch. DataFeed Watch without a feed management tool, not just DataFeed Watch. Any feed management tool can do this, or should be able to do this. But whatever you put inside of your website, if there is a sales price that is shown and you want to have that show up on the website, usually that's entered right into the feed and then given to Google, and then Google advertises for it. So again, another use case as to why you might need to run specific pricing that you just have to be different on your website than in your feed itself, or rearranging your images. So going back to the kind of beginning, I'm going to add a new shop. I deleted my previous shop, but I'm going to click add shop. And then it's going to, very, very simple, shop's name, purposeful baskets. And then of course it says, choose your main input feed. You got BigCommerce, you got Shopware. There's more that's on here too. But I'm going to say Shopify. And then source location is going to be, the source is going to be, I think it's just, yeah, right there. There's the source location. And then next tab. It says I am the shop owner. I'm not the shop owner. Since I am the shop owner, I can do the installation myself. This basically means, hey, do you have backend access to the website? choose update time zone, just choose your time zone. See what is Arizona. And then select update times. Again, you can leave this blank. Basically, just when is it gonna essentially update? So I can have it update every day at 3 o'clock. If you add more than one update, please keep a 1 hour break between them. So if you wanted to say I need this uploading every hour, you can. Again, Google takes your feed and hangs onto it for 30 days, so daily's fine. So Michael, that was the way that that our client got around minimally advertised price. The way that they would say is you can't run an ad with that price. Now, sometimes they say, well, you can't actually feature that on the product either. And that's why you've seen a lot of companies that it's kind of annoying where it's like, add to cart to see the price. That's a way for them to get around map pricing. It's really dependent upon the relationship with every manufacturer though. So they were okay with being in a competitive ecosystem by not advertising a specific price, but they had no problem either reducing the price on the page, showing a coupon codes, like when you add this to your cart, enter in this code, we will mark it down to $67, like right on the page. It really just depends on how each manufacturer defines advertising again. So we're downloading your products. This is going to take a bit. So sometimes you'll see it takes anywhere between 5 minutes and 4 hours, just depending upon how many products you have. So this is kind of the hard part where it's now going to be downloading all the products. Because I've already had this on my on the purposeful baskets. What unfortunately what I can't do because DataFeed Watch cases it is it's just going to do this. It's going to ask you to go download their app integration. And I think inside of the apps here, it's very simple. It's DataFeed Watch app here. When you install DataFeed Watch app, essentially it's just going to say, please enter the code. And then you're like, okay, I entered that code. And then once you enter that code, you're done. Like it's just simply download DataFeed Watch app, enter that code. Okay, I entered that code. Perfect. Now we're connected and then you're here. So it'll connect very, very instantaneously, but it is just from a DataFeed Watch app. If you're on WooCommerce, it's a file. Like drop this file in your header. If it's on BigCommerce, you have to drop the file into a specific area in WooCommerce. I think it's called Bridge to Cart, but it'll give you the exact instructions. Place this file here, and then once you do that, it automatically would. Then when you hit OK, it just says, "Okay, now I'm speaking to your site," and then pulls all that data in. Dave, do you recommend setting this up the same time as your first ad campaign, or maybe week? Honestly, it's not necessarily. It's not really a set reason. If you ever needed to set this up 6 months from now, and you add DataFeed Watch, as long as all of the same information that's on your site is in DataFeed Watch, your Google Ads campaign is not going to know the difference. It's because it says, hey, it used to say this title and now it says this title. Oh, that's the same title. It's just coming from a different source. It's okay. So DataFeed Watch doesn't necessarily change anything. The only time that I would say that you would need it is if you said, okay, I need to start A/B testing my headlines, or I might need to start adding more content to my description, but I really don't want to. I don't want to break the layout of my page by adding in these other 200 words in my descriptions and pushing everything else down. I'd like to do that through a feed management tool. So you pull down DataFeed Watch, everything maps accordingly, everything is exactly static as how it was. You just set up a rule that if that item ID is this, then you add this to the description. And then every 24 hours that updates, or you can press a button that just says save and it says, okay, connecting, pushing through success. Like it does everything automatically for you. And that's how you can then add that description. And then all Google sees is that one product has a slightly updated description, but everything else looks exactly the same. So it's not necessarily if you use DataFeed Watch, your campaigns are going to be better. It's not. It just gives you the functionality of making the change that's not on your website. And it's a feed management tool that you get to use at your discretion. So again, like I said in the 3x Shopify, I would never give you like, oh man, if your campaign was using this, you'd be a lot better. Like you have everything that you need from 3x Shopify. This is a masterclass where you are needing to use a feed management tool to optimize your feed, but not on your website. Then you get to see how that product then starts to react to smart shopping campaigns or remarketing, wherever it may be. Some caveats to this: don't remove anything. You can't change a title from A to B. That'll be a landing page discrepancy. Google Merchant Center will disapprove or possibly suspend you. Don't change the price. Like my price, my website is $12, but the feed is $8. Landing page discrepancy again. Don't remove descriptions. You can add to it, but if you ever remove descriptions, Google's going to say, well, what you said in the feed is not your product. Could be a misrepresentation. So where you want to use a feed management tool is adding or supplementing. But if you ever, and you can change, if it says like best to use on your dog, and then you replace that to best to use on your cat, that's fine. Most of the time, small, minor changes like that, Google's not going to catch and or care. But if it says best to use on your cat, and you change that to use on your F-250 pickup, that's going to be a large change. Now that's a ridiculous change, but I wanted to use that as an illustration purpose. But the feed management tool like DataFeed Watch is going to be able to give you the ability to keep your website static, your user experience static. You can add 800 words to your description without breaking the layout of your product page, and see how that starts to expand audiences, or add 10 keywords to your title that are really, really relevant. I would recommend adding 10, start small and work your way up based on performance. But how you would normally add a keyword to a search campaign, that's how you think about feed management tools. Is I'm being able to edit the attributes of my product to widen my audience, or possibly get a little more relevant audience that sees my product. And so if you're wondering, if I call my sunglasses, hey, black sunglasses, cool, black plastic, sleek Oakley sunglasses, yeah, cool. Now you have a lot more description, but I just didn't want to put that on my homepage or on my product page. That'd be a reason to change that. He has an exclusion list that we got from him, and this is just some of the level of information that he gives out, and it's just a massive amount of information. There is on here, we have something called placement exclusion lists. So when you run display ads, YouTube ads, I don't know why that went to the wrong campaign. It clicked back in. That was on Brotman. Let me go back to the Brotman tab here. But when you run display, why that went to the wrong campaign. It clicked back in. That was on Brotman. Let me go back to the Brotman tab here. But when you run display ads, sometimes you say like, wow, this is not a really good area. I don't want to have my ads show there. He's like, here's 30,000 app placements. Here's 30,000, or almost 31,000 website, and here's 759 YouTube channels that you just don't want to have your content featured on. And when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, like little kids, kid goals, Fruit Town, anime song lyrics, like just tons of them that end up just showing up inside of YouTube because as a 4 and 5-year-old kid, you just pretty much just slam your iPad and your screen, and you just start clicking around, and that shows ad engagement, and then they start showing those ads more and more and more. So it's like, here's 70,000 exclusion lists, and just add those as excluded audiences. And now every YouTube channel display an ad, an app ad, are just excluded from that list. You used to be able to do this with just AdSense for mobile apps in an exclusion list, and then you didn't show up on any sort of apps that you didn't need to. Now you have to go one by one and exclude yourself from every single category. But even after excluding every single category, you still show up on these lists. So this is a list of saying, if you don't want to show up on any apps, you have to exclude yourself all from those apps. And then Google's still going to show you on 31,000 more apps. So here's all of the other ones that you need to exclude yourself from as well.